Morning, everyone. JJ here with another, talking too long about another subject. It's the morning, I've got my coffee here. It's a little too early to rock, but it's never too early to talk. So, bringing you another one of these videos. Today, another video I did previously, I spoke about the drum set I'm using and Tama drums in general, which are my preferred brand of choice. And cymbals are obviously a part of the drum set and a very important part, in my opinion. And I've had many cymbals over the years. It's too many to count at this point. Unfortunately, I've had a lot of awesome ones, and most of those have been broken and lost to the sands of time. But in the long time, hundreds of years that I've been playing, I feel like I've really kind of dialed in and really developed my ear to really pick up nuance in cymbals. And I realize just through listening to music and my favorite bands and stuff like that, how important they are to the overall kind of sonic space and like what you're trying to create in the song and things like that. So yeah, I'll do another video pertaining to this brand because for the first half of my playing career, let's call it, I was a Zildjian person, and I never swayed from them. I had the odd little cymbal that I would, play and kind of like and things, but as far as what I was buying and what my preference was, it was Zildjian from the time that I was able to first start getting them when I was 13 up until maybe 10, 12 years ago. So we're talking, well over a 20-year relationship with those cymbals. And I still have the cymbals. They're just down here, they're kind of tucked away, nice and close if I need to use them. But what I found happened was that my taste started to shift as I got a little older. And I was looking for something, and I wasn't really finding it anymore with the Zildjians that I had. They're great cymbals, but I was really after something. And just through listening to records, and my favorite records, like endlessly, what I was piecing together was that pretty much all of my favorite recordings, or a large number actually of my favorite drummers and really influential drummers to me, Stuart Copeland, Dave Lombardo, just so many. I always do this. I always have a list of people that are influences for these types of things, and I always forget the names when the video starts. But Paiste artists, David Silvera, Joey Jordison, some other ones that come to mind. But there's a lot. And, I was listening to these, Alex Van Halen. I just remembered another one, Alex Van Halen. I would listen to these records, and I would hear this really kind of it was like a signature character to what the cymbals were doing. And it's kind of esoteric, and, audio is a bit of that, where you're describing things with, words, and the ideas don't really exist, but you try your best. To me, those albums and those players, they had a cymbal sound where the cymbals kind of sat in this frequency range that was really like beautiful, and it had this kind of a bell-like tonal quality to it. It felt orchestral in a way. Cymbals had definite pitches and just a brightness and character to them. And I had tried every Zildjian cymbal. I had gone from, starting out as a younger player, the A series, all the way through to like the later, when I got a bit older, I started moving over towards the Ks and some of the darker cymbals. And I think once I got into the dark cymbals is where I realized I was going the opposite direction of what I want. Dark cymbals are not what I like. Maybe like a dark china or a very specific accent cymbal or something like that. But overall, my ethos for a drum sound is to tune the drums low. I tend to play mostly rock, and so I like a low pitched kind of drum sound. And to counterbalance that, I like to have the cymbals sit well above. And conversely, not to get too far into that, but I work in audio as well. And what I found is that by naturally balancing these two things, having the drums be in their own lower frequency range and having the cymbals being in an upper range that's kind of their own airspace, let's say, it's made mixing kind of effortless, because all the work is being done here and you don't have to go into your programs and such and make frequency notches and carve things out. Everything has its own spot right here in the room, which is ultimately what I think best recording practice is anyways. The less you have to do later on and the more you can do on the day, the better and further ahead you are. So once I started to kind of really analyze and sit down and hear these recordings and just what was going on between the drums and the cymbals, and through the years, I had obviously read Modern Drummer magazine. I was a big fan of that and had a subscription for a very long time. And I would read these things with like Jeff Porcaro and like these studio guys and what people were doing in this studio. And there was always this pervasive rumor that guys would be endorsed by a certain cymbal brand and they would use them live, but they would have these secret pieces of gear that they would use in the studio that were not the endorsed brand. They were a one-off or something they liked better. And you'd hear about these, and there's recently a perfect example of that was Chad Smith from the Red Hot Chili Peppers. The album Blood Sugar Sex Magic was recorded, and just a amazing drum sound that was achieved very simply and very quickly. Just the right environment, the right room, and an excellent player, which goes to show you don't need a lot of tricks up your sleeve if you just have a solid sound to start with. Chad Smith, obviously being a Sabian endorsee for many years, as many years as I could remember. As soon as I started seeing him in Modern Drummer, he was using Sabian. So unbeknownst to us, it turns out, I think pretty much all the cymbals and definitely the hi-hats on Blood Sugar Sex Magic were all the Paiste brand. And recently he has now switched over to Paiste after being with Sabian for 1,000 years. And he revealed that story, which was very telling, because I think that at his level, there are many other players that are likely doing the same thing. And, to just get back to that fact, I've read such things in magazines, and a lot of times the drummers wouldn't allude to which brand they were, but if you're talking about the 80s and rock and stuff, Paiste was kind of ubiquitous in being the rock and roll symbol of the 1980s. And but to me, it's like that's a very narrow title to give to them, because they're not just rock and roll symbols. So after I kind of made these discoveries and really started to think about what I wanted, and you know, I started to, and I'd always been a fan of Paiste. I was very aware of the lines and, you know, Danny Carey and what he was using, and just drummers that had, you know, been with Paiste for a long time and what they were utilizing. And so I started to analyze a bit more. And honestly, you know, the barrier that was keeping me from trying Paiste sooner was the price. You know, when it came down to being a you know, a young performer, and you know, you don't have a lot of money to replace things sometimes, and whatever, you're on the road and stuff, and you know, you use what you can get sometimes. But when you have you know, a little bit more choice to be discerning, it's nice to be able to go after things that you want instead of just you know, using what you have available to you at the time. So yeah, the barrier for me for a long time was the price of Paiste. They were significantly higher. I'm located in Canada, and throughout the 90s and throughout most of the 2000s as well, they were quite significantly higher in price than comparable Zildjian or Sabian, or Meinl has not really been big in my area for a long time, but they're picking up. But at the time, they weren't around. So your big three: Paiste, Sabian, and Zildjian. Paiste was always significantly more. For a, you know, an 18-inch typical crash cymbal, you'd be looking somewhere around $100 to $150 more per cymbal. And to me, I just, you know, I was playing a little wilder and a little, you know, with less abandon, and I was going through cymbals quite frequently. I was getting a lot of warranty claims from Cymbals, and to spend the extra on the cymbal just to deal with the warranty, it wasn't worth it to me for a little while. So, so we get to about 2001, and I'm playing a lot more. You know, I've moved on into my own place, and I'm just I'm focusing a lot on music and things like that at the time, and Joey Jordison breaks onto the scene, and you know, early on in his early videos, he's playing just a random assortment of cymbals and what he could get his hands on. But 2001 rolls around, and Slipknot releases the Iowa album, and by that point, Joey is kind of dialed in, and he's got his endorsements and stuff, and at that time he's moved over to Paiste, and he's using pretty much all Rudes at that time, and so hugely inspirational player to me, and I was like, Rudes aren't that much more expensive than you know, some of the comparable Zildjians I was getting, and I was like, well, I'll give him a shot. So I bought a 16-inch Rude Crash Ride, and I bought an 18-inch Rude Crash Ride. I had an 18-inch China, and I had a 20-inch Power Ride, and really killed the ears of everyone in the small practice room that we were in. Sorry about your luck, Norm, but I had earplugs. I'm fine. What were you doing? And so, anyways, playing these super loud cymbals, because it's not loud. It's not that they're louder. It's they have this tonality and this higher frequency that it's designed to, you know, penetrate and cut over loud guitars and a loud mix. And you know, like, the punk rock drummers were using them, and Dave Lombardo uses them, and Stuart Copeland had them for a long time, and you know, all very loud players, and that was definitely my aesthetic at the time. So, yeah, my first introduction to Paiste was the Rude line, and you know, great cymbals. I would run into issues with them in certain venues where it was just rooms that weren't intended to ever host bands playing, and we'd be playing, and they were just too much for the room, so I'd always end up having to tape them or kind of dull them down in some way. So they're a bit, I love the cymbal. You know, I have one. There's one right behind me right here, obviously. I love the sound of the cymbal, and in certain applications it works well, but you can't be bringing these things to like you know, small acoustic gigs or, you know, tiny rooms, everyone's going to be like this the whole time. It's like, it's not fun to look from the drum set and see people just cringing at the cymbal sound. So that's why there's only one on the kit, because if I had a whole litany of them, it would drive everyone insane probably. So yeah, the Roods are my introduction into Paiste. I used those for about 3-4 years, maybe 3 years. And then I still had all my Zildjians, and I had a fairly wide variety of Zildjians at that point. So I just, I ended up selling the Roods. I broke one or two of them, maybe two, and you know, they ended up going away. And kind of never thought about it again, because once again, I'm playing a lot and breaking a lot, and the Paistes are still kind of, especially the signatures and, you know, the formulas. I don't know I can't remember if the Formula 602 was around then, but you know, the signatures were what I had my eye on, and they were way out of range for me. So yeah, we get from about 2004 till, you know, probably about 2016. So quite a long time that I continued using Zildjian. And I was happy. I was a big custom fan, and just, you know, I played what I liked. I had, you know, cymbals that I had had for a long time and was used to, and just continued on. But it was always never quite satisfied with what I had. So 2016, 2017, I started really investigating Paiste a bit more. And the catalyst for me to jump ship, let's say, not that I was ever, you know, endorsed or anything like that by Zildjian. It was just my preferred brand and what I liked. So I decided to change gears, and at the time there had been a shift in the pricing, and I'm not totally familiar. I'm only kind of aware from what our my cymbal rep has told me, but what had happened was Zildjian and Sabian had both increased prices at a certain period, and at the same time, Paiste had not increased their prices. So what we had was a very a narrowing of the gap between the prices of Zildjian and Sabian and Paiste, and some of the cymbals actually from Paiste were slightly cheaper than from Zildjian, and which I had never seen before. And so that was almost like a light bulb moment for me, where it's like, well, if there's ever a time to do it, it's now. So I decided to grab, you know, kind of the main cymbals of a kit that I would really make a decision on to start with, which is a ride cymbal and, you know, a crash cymbal as well. And, you know, coming from like the old school kind of rock and stuff, as far as the crash cymbal goes, that was this crash cymbal here. You see by the red label, it's a Paiste 2002. All the crashes I tend to use, there is one 17. This is a 17, but my preferred size for crashes has been either 18 or 19. Once again, I mentioned in another video, I have a problem with small targets, so the bigger the target, the better for me. So pretty much all 18s and the one 17. So 18-inch Paiste 2002 crash is the first crash that I get my hands on in this new endeavor of mine. And great crash, like completely universal. I mean, you know, these are the symbol of rock and roll. The 2002 is John Bonham, and, you know, it's, everybody knows. But I mean, there's nothing this cymbal can't cover. It just, you know, it's not thick. It plays really well. Like, it feels good under the stick. It has such a, you know, it doesn't make people cringe when they listen to it. It's wonderful. And so listening to that cymbal in the kit, it was very apparent when I took a Paiste and I put the rest of the Zildjians up. That to me was, when I made that discovery, it wasn't a question anymore of whether I should jump ship or not. When I had this Paiste up with a couple of Zildjians, I mean, it was like the Zildjians had a piece of, like a blanket over the top of them, like muted, like kind of dull, like there was this brightness, and just what I had been looking for was right there in that cymbal, and it's probably been there the whole time. I just never grabbed it to find out. So 18-inch crash, Paiste 2002. Second cymbal I get is this bad muffle right there. So I had the Paiste 20-inch Rude Power Ride, and to me that cymbal was a bit too school bell clangy, ding, if you know what I mean. Like it had all that character, but it had that unique tone where it just cut through everything, and loud, but I thought it was pretty one-dimensional. It's great for that kind of playing, but it didn't sound good in other contexts to me. It was a bit too clangy. And so, but I do like the brightness of a power ride and the bells of a power ride. And so, even though it was quite expensive, what I've found is that if anyone is interested in Paiste, I'll suggest this to you. If you go to their website and listen to their audio samples that they have embedded into the website, they're the most accurate cymbal sounds on any website, like a sample. I've owned about 20 18-inch A-custom crashes over the years, and every one of them were different. Some of them I hated. Some of them I actually sold because I didn't like at all. That is a cool thing that happens. Sometimes you find these unicorn cymbals and that. But it takes a lot of sorting, and if you don't have a good drum shop in your area, you're just kind of getting what you get, and sometimes it's not good. Sorry to say, but to me, it might be good for somebody else, but to me, I would be disappointed with a brand new cymbal I purchased, which is, not great, and it doesn't lead to a further purchase down the road. So anyways, back to that cymbal. This cymbal was quite expensive. Feel free to look it up online. You'll see what I mean. When I listened to it on Paiste's website, I had a good experience with this, and I was like, well, this cymbal sounds almost the same as on the website as what I'm hearing in my practice space. If the same thing goes for this Paiste signature power ride, then I'll be golden. And I listened to all the different rides, and ended up settling on this one because it had the bell and some character that I liked. And I got it home, and it was exactly like what I had expected, and perhaps even surpassed my expectations, which is pretty amazing. And so this is a 20-inch signature power ride, and power ride is kind of a misnomer, let's say, because when you think power, you think like just a sewer plate, like a cymbal like an inch thick, like the old Zildjian Z custom or Z power rides that are, they're like a quarter of an inch thick. They're just not musical. And so I was always a bit kind of hesitant on power or heavy or whatever. But what I've tended to notice is that Paiste cymbals, even though they have a power or a heavy designation, they're definitely on the lighter side compared to Zildjians. I would say that the Paiste Power Ride is probably the same thickness as, maybe a Zildjian, like a medium heavy, perhaps even a medium in some of the lines. Like I have a K-Custom hybrid ride, which is not thick at all. And it weighs more than the Paiste Power Ride. So it kind of gives, a bit of weight to the idea that, the frequency range and the sonics are what are giving Paiste their, power designation or whatever, versus actually just introducing more metal into the equation. So, and once again, being a slightly less heavy cymbal, it makes it much more playable for me. You can crash ride on that thing if you really want to. I've done it in a few videos I've posted. it's just a big 20-inch crash sound, but it's definitely possible. And so those are the two intros I have, and then after that, it's game on. The prices had, like I said, had kind of met in the middle, and so I sold off a few of the Zildjians I had, and some cymbals I just wasn't using or didn't really like. Add some funds to these. Ended up getting in no particular order, but these hi-hats are signature 14-inch heavy hi-hats, and once again the heavy is they're not that heavy. Like I have some Zildjian rock hats from the 1970s that are twice as thick as those things, but I guess in the Paiste world these are heavier than their others. So once again, another 18-inch 2002 crash, just a regular crash, not anything, no medium heavy, nothing, just a regular old crash. When I got to the signatures for crashes, I really, really took my time and wanted to get not all of the same sound. What I like is, think of, for American or North American viewers, the melody to NBC, these types of melodic phrasings that are, in cymbals. And in my playing, I tend to do a lot of double hits, just cymbal accents without bass drums underneath. And I just want to hear the cymbals and have these, have these voicings with them that have some kind of musicality. Essentially, the way I look at drum set is kind of like that. There's, we have phrasings and orchestral, melodic arrangements with the toms, descending or ascending, depending on which way you go up the kit. I tune my bass drums differently for the same reason. I want one, when I do a double bass thing, I want there to be a boom, 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 like a pulse. If they're just the same bass drum, it kind of, Alex Van Halen talked about that a lot, where one was always off from the other, and Danny Carey is another drummer who has two different bass drums. And so there's other schools of thought out there when it comes to drumming, and I'm open to all of them. And I've taken a little bit from a lot of players and added my own thing into it. But when I got to the signature crashes, I really wanted to have some melodic elements to the cymbals. And so when I looked, to my ears, I really loved the power crashes and the full crashes. So your power crash is like if you're crash riding on a chorus or something like that, it really, really fills out the space and the bar line, and it just is really nice, kind of a layer that everything else sits on, and just it's awesome sound. This is 18-inch power crash. This wonderful cymbal. I play this a lot, and this is 4 years I've had this one without a crack or anything, and I'm very happy about that. 17-inch power crash, just wanted a bit of the same character, but slightly raised pitch. So the smaller cymbal gives me that. I don't have it on the kit right now, but my actual favorite crash cymbal, if I hold it the right way, it'd be better. There you go. Paiste 18-inch full crash. That is the perfect crash cymbal in every way, shape, or form. Every guy from John Dolmayan in System of a Down to Josh Freese, who's in Foo Fighters, Danny Carey, Tool. That's a cymbal that you see in pretty much every drummer in the Paiste roster. You'll find one of those in whatever size. My size is the 18, so that's what I went with. And that cymbal should be sitting right in this area somewhere. The voicing of it feels good on this side of the drum set for me. It's wonderful. Go to the website and have a listen, and you'll get a pretty good idea of what I'm hearing when I hear this cymbal in the room. And I mean, if I was gonna use one cymbal, crash cymbal, for the rest of the time, that would be the one. I have a whole bunch of other Paistes I'll get into very quickly. I know this video is running long. Behind me, just above me there, Paiste 18-inch Novo China. Amazing China cymbal. Zildjian's Oriental China Trash was my go-to for a long time. And I bought so many of those over the years, and I loved them. Lars used them, obviously, and still does. And great cymbal. I also loved, like, I have a 19-inch K China Brilliant Finish, which is a long discontinued cymbal, but it's very dark and it's a different cymbal altogether. I very rarely use it, but it's nice to have the option for it. But that China is, you know, a guy like Charlie Benante and Dave Lombardo, these guys all swear by those. And they, I mean, it's a China cymbal. It sounds like a China cymbal. It's got a lot of nice cut to it and attack and sounds great. But the thing that's better for me about that is that there used to be a thing with the movement of a China cymbal where it was always kind of, for lack of a better term, herky-jerky, or like the wobbly. Like it didn't smoothly kind of do this wobble like a crash. It would always be like weird. And because of the design of the bell on these Paiste Novo cymbals, they act exactly the same as a crash cymbal on the stand. So for me, the bell design definitely changes something about the character of the cymbal. But the biggest thing for me is playability. I used to go through China's like it was going out of style. And that is the original Novo China that I bought. It was never replaced under warranty. So that cymbal is now 2018. And if you've seen my videos, you know I don't treat it very well. And it's held up and still holding up, still sounds great. And then there's that loud bastard behind me, the 18-inch Paiste Rude Crash Ride. And I'd love to have that cymbal there. The reason, there's a very specific video and time where I decided that probably, you know, for the rest of the time, I would likely have an 18-inch Rude cymbal in that position. There was a live video from Korn and from '94. I think it's Download Festival, and there's this camera angle that's right behind David while he's playing, and I forget the song, but I mean, they just get into this part where it's him just hammering away on this Rude Crash Ride. He might have had a 20-inch cymbal. But, you know, I just don't want to put a 20-inch up there, so the 18 works for me. But the idea is there anyways, where it just has this brightness to it, and he's crash riding on it. It's just, yeah, I think about that often when I play that cymbal in that moment. And, you know, it's got such great cut, especially when you're coming around the drums. 12, 13, 16, 18. Sometimes I'll get into the gong drum at the end of a fill. So when the drum is that low, it's a nice surprise to come out of a drum fill with a very bright cymbal. Like it's a total opposite in the sonic spectrum, going from the gong drum to a crash ride from the Rude series. And I like those kind of dichotomies, you know, like opposite ends of the spectrum sort of thing. And but yeah, and then I have a smaller collection of the Paistes I don't use. I have the full crash I showed. I have some cymbals I use for live. It's another thing I can get into quickly. I don't care. This video is running long anyways. Who cares? If you're watching, thank you for watching. Yeah, other cymbals for live. So I have a set of 15-inch 2002 hi-hats, the Sound Edge ones. I know a lot of people say that Bonham used them, but I don't know. I definitely used something like them, I think, but it's not exactly these. But anyways, these are great sounding hi-hats too. Sometimes I like to put a remote hi-hat up just around my ride cymbal area, and I can actually control it as well. It's a real remote hi-hat. So I can open and play that cymbal on that side. It's nice to have the two sonic differences between these and the sound edge. So I have a ride cymbal I picked up. I did a trade for it a little while ago. I haven't played it a lot yet, but it's not because I don't like it. It's just because I've been way into using this, and I think this works a little better for the videos that I'm doing, so it tends to stay on the kit. But I have the 22-inch reflector Miko McBrain Power Slave ride, and that's an amazing cymbal. It plays extremely well. It was way more delicate than I thought it was going to be. Like, to me, it's quite thin. It's a 22-inch cymbal, and it has a little bit of flex to it. You can bend it, which you would think you could do with like a splash cymbal or something, but this cymbal has some give to it. Feels really good under the stick when you play. And obviously the bell, Nico's quite renowned for his bell playing, and this cymbal is obviously capable of that, to say the least. It's fantastic. I'd love to actually incorporate it as a second ride cymbal, maybe even like a left hand, start getting into a bit of that stuff a bit more. But my walkway to get to the drum set is on this side, and if I fill it up, then I can't get back here. So drummer problems, I guess. So yeah, wonderful cymbal. I'm gonna throw it in some of my videos coming up probably soon once I get bored of this one, and so you'll be able to check it out. But once again, go to the Paiste website, have a listen. It's fantastic. I can't recommend it enough. It is expensive though. For live, I should get back to that point before this video gets too long. These are very expensive. If you play drums and you've played a live show, you know how things go. Beers get spilled. Guitarists like to hammer cymbals with their guitars, that kind of thing. And so bringing these is not an option for shows anymore. These don't leave the house. And so what I've discovered is that for years and years and years, I've always kind of had that idea. I didn't ever want to use my more expensive things in a live setting. So I would buy budget cymbals. I would buy your Sabian B8s and your Zildjian ZBTs and, whatever lines they've had through the years. There's been a bunch. And, they're so unfulfilling is a good way to put it. They get the job done, I guess, maybe further away once the sound has a bit of time to envelop in the room. Maybe they sound a bit better. But at the kit, they're just, they're not, especially if you've been playing for a long time and you come down to those, it's like a disappointing. And but I just put up with it, just because I didn't want to ruin my good stuff. So when I jumped on board with Paiste and started listening, I saw that they had this line called the PST7, which is, I can't remember exactly, but I want to say it's actually the same B8 material as what the 2002s are. I'm pretty sure it's exactly the same metal. So sonically, I was blown away. I bought an 18-inch crash from the PST7 line to start with, and I have an 18-inch 2002, so I could do a real A-B comparison. And in a blind test, this is, in my opinion, a fact. In a blind test, I don't know if you'd be able to tell one from the other. You could guess and get it right half the time, but to actually, know it as a fact, I can't. And a few other people I've asked, they couldn't either, which is saying something, because the PST7 costs about a third of what 2002 costs. And you're going to get varying results from all of the different cymbals, like the 16-inch crash from the PST7. I had a set. I had 16, 17, 18 crashes, the regular crashes. And then I had an 18-inch China. I still have it, I shouldn't say had. So the 16 was kind of a little, it didn't do much for me. I'm not a fan of 16-inch cymbals anyways. 17 is a little better. So if anything, if I go to replace any of those cymbals, because they are my live cymbals, and they do get busted up. I'd probably tend to stick with the larger sizes for the PST-7s. I haven't gotten into a ride cymbal from them yet because I have an old ride that I've had. It's my live cymbal for years. It's an A custom medium ride, and it's a wonderful all-around ride. Like, great bell. It's perfect for playing live with. It does everything. And then I have a set of hi-hats that I put together from an abandoned bottom cymbal and a 14-inch crash cymbal I found. I just wanted to build a set of hi-hats that have a great chick when they're closed, but when they were open, they wouldn't wash in these rooms and, make everybody plug their ears kind of thing. And, but yeah, the PST-7s, if any of the viewers, anyone watching this video, if you're just beginning, just starting to play, I can't recommend those PST-7s enough. You can get an entire pack of cymbals for a drum set for the same price as like what those hi-hats cost. Actually, way less than that now that I think of it. So, and I get compliments on those cymbals all the time. It's not this kind of thing where you bring them to an environment and people are going to know they're cheap or know that they're, a beginner cymbal or whatever. That's not the case at all. I've had other drummers sit down and play. Nothing but kudos for those cymbals. And to me, that's a testament because, there are other brands that are using the B8 metal for their lower budget cymbals. And I don't know what Paiste does that's different, but they've got the formula with the B8. Like there's no comparison between the two. And yeah, to be able to get some cymbals, quickly and on a good budget without having to worry about them too much, is kind of nice. So, but I did the thigh slap. That must mean I'm getting ready to wrap up. Yeah, I mean, I can't speak more highly of these cymbals. Like, I still have all of my Zildjians, and there's a time and a place to use them. If I'm recording for somebody and, like they're specifically after perhaps a dark sound or, some kind of character that these cymbals aren't capable of, obviously I can swap over and have those at my disposal. I'm lucky that way that I have choice. But my choice for playing and for sitting in this room and listening and, and being pleased with the feedback that's going on in here, I don't know the last time I actually put the Zildjians up for my own pleasure. And, once again, Zildjians are amazing. And there's people that obviously are after that sonic characteristic, because as much as I as much as I rave about the Paiste cymbals, I mean, there are plenty of people who dislike them for all the reasons that I like them. Too bright, too brittle, whatever the case is. There's a lot of things out there. And I read those things and, they were concerns of mine, I think, as well. But hands-on with them is a completely different experience. And, as a hard, powerful player, I can attest to the fact that they don't break. People had said for years that Paistes were brittle and, they break, and no. They're no different than any other cymbals. In fact, when you get into the worst issues I ever had with Zildjians were with the China cymbals and the heavier lines of cymbals. The heavier I would tend to go with Zildjian, the more frequently I seem to crack cymbals, which is why I gravitated towards the regular A customs after a while. I broke them less. Being the thinner cymbal, we don't have to do a physics lesson here, but there's something there. And, but yeah, if you have any concerns of any of that stuff, I hopefully can squash them a bit with this video and, tell you my experience with the cymbals and how wonderful it's been. And yeah, even there is no endorsement here. This is me buying things with my own money. And to come out here and do a 45-minute video now about these cymbals is a testament to, I think, how good the brand is and how much they please me having them around. So Thanks for watching. If you watched this whole thing, this has been the one about Paiste cymbals. Cheers.